Have you ever wondered how to identify red flags in your organization? Perhaps you're unsure of what to look for, or maybe you're concerned about potential scams. Let's face it, recognizing red flags isn't always a walk in the park. In fact, it can be a daunting task. However, it's essential for maintaining the integrity and success of any organization, particularly in the nonprofit sector. In a world where scams are increasingly sophisticated, these red flags can be the difference between safeguarding your organization and falling prey to fraud. The implications of scams are serious, causing not only financial losses, but also severe damage to an organization's reputation and trustworthiness. They can shatter the faith your stakeholders have in your organization, and rebuilding that trust can be an uphill battle. So, understanding red flags is crucial. It's about more than just protecting your bottom line. It's about preserving your organization's mission and the faith people put in it. Stay tuned as we delve into uncovering these red flags and protecting your organization. To effectively identify red flags, we first need to understand what scams and frauds look like in the nonprofit sector. Let's break it down. Firstly, we have phishing emails. These are deceptive messages disguised as official communication. They might appear to come from a trusted source, like a bank or a funding agency, and they often request sensitive information. The goal? To trick the recipient into revealing valuable data, like login credentials or financial details. Next, we encounter false representation. This is when an individual or group pretends to be a nonprofit organization or representative to exploit the goodwill of donors. They might use the name of a well-known charity, create a fake website, or even stage a phony fundraising event. The objective? To pocket the donated funds. Lastly, we have misappropriation of funds. This is when someone within the nonprofit uses the organization's resources for personal gain. They might divert donations, inflate expenses, or create phantom employees. The aim? To siphon off money that should be going towards the organization's mission. Now, it's important to remember that these are just some of the scams and fraudulent activities that can target nonprofits. Others might include grant fraud, where a scammer applies for a grant using false information, or donation theft, where someone intercepts and steals donations before they reach the intended recipient. Each of these scams and fraudulent activities is unique, but they all have one thing in common. They are designed to deceive and exploit. They take advantage of the trust and goodwill that is inherent in the nonprofit sector, and they cause significant harm, not just in terms of financial loss, but also in terms of reputational damage and lost opportunities. So, it's clear that understanding scams and fraud is crucial for nonprofits. The better we understand these threats, the better we can protect our organizations and ensure that our resources are used effectively to achieve our mission. Now that we know what scams look like, let's move on to how we can identify them. Identifying red flags in your organization is crucial in preventing scams and fraud. To keep your organization safe, understanding these warning signs and acting on them promptly is paramount. Let's dive into some clear, actionable tips to help you identify potential scams. First on our list is sudden changes in financial transactions. If you notice an unexpected spike or drop in your organization's income or expenses, don't brush it off. This could indicate unauthorized transactions, embezzlement, or other fraudulent activities. It's important to investigate these changes thoroughly and promptly. Next, let's discuss the lack of transparency. A transparent organization is a healthy organization. If certain areas of your operation seem shrouded in secrecy, or if access to important information is unnecessarily restricted, these could be red flags. Transparency fosters trust, and trust is the foundation of a strong, resilient organization. Moving on, watch out for unusual requests for sensitive information. Scammers often manipulate people into divulging confidential data. If you receive an email, call, or message asking for sensitive information, even if it appears to come from a trusted source, be cautious. Verify the identity of the person making the request and the legitimacy of the request itself before sharing anything. Another red flag to look out for is a reluctance to participate in audits or reviews. Regular audits are vital for maintaining the integrity of your organization. If someone consistently avoids or tries to undermine these processes, it could indicate they have something to hide. Also, beware of inconsistent stories or explanations. If explanations about financial matters, project outcomes, or organizational decisions constantly change or don't add up, this inconsistency could be a sign of fraudulent activity. Lastly, always be wary of too good to be true opportunities. Scammers often lure victims with promises of high returns for little effort or investment. If an opportunity seems too good to be true, it probably is. Remember, these red flags aren't definitive proof of scams or fraud, but they are clear indicators that something might be amiss and warrant further investigation. Beyond these tips, it's crucial to foster a culture of openness and accountability in your organization. Encourage your team members to speak up if they notice anything unusual, and ensure there's a safe, anonymous way for them to report potential issues. In the world of nonprofits, trust is everything. It's what allows you to build relationships with your donors, beneficiaries, and the wider community. By staying vigilant and proactive, you can protect that trust and ensure the integrity and longevity of your organization. Remember, vigilance and awareness are your best defenses against scams. Stay vigilant, stay aware, and stay safe.
Identifying red flags is just the first step. The next step is to implement controls within your organization to prevent these scams. So, what are these controls and how can they be implemented? Let's delve into that. First off, regular audits. They are your organization's best friend and an essential tool in the fight against fraud. Regular audits help in identifying irregularities, inconsistencies, and potential fraudulent activities. They give a clear picture of your organization's financial health and provide valuable insight into areas that may need improvement. Next up, we have strong internal controls. These are procedures and policies put in place to safeguard your organization's assets, ensure accurate financial reporting, promote operational efficiency, and encourage adherence to laws and regulations. They range from segregation of duties, meaning no single individual has control over all aspects of any significant task, to proper authorization of transactions and activities. But what makes these controls truly effective? The answer is simple: your staff. They are your front line of defense against scams and fraud, but they can only perform this role effectively if they are well trained and aware of what to look for. Therefore, staff training on fraud prevention is vital. Make sure they understand the common signs of fraud, how to report suspicious activities, and the importance of maintaining a culture of honesty and integrity. Additionally, creating a whistleblower policy can significantly help in fraud prevention. This policy should encourage employees to report any suspicious activities without fear of retaliation. It should also outline how these reports will be handled and investigated. Finally, keep an open line of communication with your team. Encourage them to ask questions, share concerns, and suggest improvements. A culture of transparency and openness can go a long way in preventing scams and fraud. Remember, the goal is not only to identify potential scams, but to prevent them. And prevention starts with implementing strong controls within your organization. With these controls in place, you will not only identify potential scams, but also prevent them. Identifying red flags and preventing scams in your organization is not a one-time task, but an ongoing responsibility. It's like a game of chess, where every move you make determines the outcome of the game. The same goes for your organization, where every decision you make can either fortify your defenses or expose you to potential threats. Let's take a minute to recap the key points we've covered in this video. We kicked off by understanding what scams and fraud are. They're not just about money, they can also be about power, control, or influence. The first step in protecting your organization is recognizing that scams exist and can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Next, we delved into the heart of the matter, identifying red flags. Red flags are warning signs that something might be amiss. They could be unusual financial transactions, changes in behavior, or discrepancies in documents. The key here is to stay alert and question anything that seems out of place. No detail is too small when it comes to safeguarding your organization. From there, we moved on to implementing controls. This is the proactive part of the process, where you take steps to prevent scams from happening in the first place. This could involve establishing clear procedures, conducting regular audits, or providing ongoing training for your team. Remember, prevention is always better than cure. But let's remember, this is not a one-and-done deal. It's an ongoing process that requires constant vigilance and commitment. The landscape of scams and fraud is ever evolving, and so too must our strategies to combat them. So what's the takeaway? Be aware, be prepared, and be proactive. Recognize the signs of potential scams, take steps to prevent them, and always be ready to adapt and adjust your strategies as needed. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep your organization safe from scams. Subscribe to get tips to safeguard your nonprofit.